Hi, I'm Nicola Richards and welcome to Charity Connect. We're here at KickItOut's Guidance Group event. In August, KickItOut will celebrate 20 years of campaigning.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much. And thank you to Delight for hosting tonight. I'm so pleased that you're all here tonight because you're all people that are caring and committed to the cause. You either support KickItOut, and you support KickItOut not because KickItOut necessarily is a body that commands your support. You support what we all believe in, and that is equality, fair treatment, and justice. Any success that's been achieved is achieved as a result of what people have done in the last 20 years, whether it's in the FA, the PFA, the football leagues themselves, the Premier League, working with the fans and the players. It's about what people themselves have been committed to do as part of this process. We've always seen our work as collaborative and working in partnership. We can't survive without partners, and our partners are throughout the entirety of the game, from grassroots right to the top where the FA sits. And although we have a cutting edge, and we had to have a cutting edge right at the beginning, because we were challenging racism, and it was rife and goddamn awful, you will know that today in 2013, we're still challenging racism. Of course, we collaborate with all our brothers and sisters who are fronting campaigns against homophobia, Islamophobia, sexism, discrimination against people with disabilities. We are all in that same struggle. But as the struggles in the USA with the Trayvon Martin case shows, as the revelations of the undermining of Stephen Lawrence way back in 1993, the same year when KickItOut started, and other information which I placed before Parliament about other black people in the police force and people campaigning for justice who were also undermined by undercover operations. Don't want to necessarily push myself in that category, but I'm sure the MI5 and all the others, GCHQ, they know my numbers, and they know where I am right now. And they know what I'm saying probably. So the reality is we're still in that struggle. It's almost as if we're still in 1993 to some extent, and Doreen Lawrence feels that way. And a lot of people who are in the sharp end of being the victims of discrimination, the victims of racism, the victims of exclusion, feel that way. So although we have made tremendous progress, and we, I mean all of us and all the many people out there who've contributed to that progress, there is still so much to be done. A lot of the investment that we put into education is about getting into schools, getting into the local leagues, into youth clubs, getting into the colleges and the universities. A lot of resource materials produced by KickItOut with the help of our core funders and other sponsors is about getting that information out there, helping teachers and tutors, helping leaders in local projects, to enable people to challenge their prejudices, challenge discrimination, challenge wrongdoing, challenge policies and practices which have a detrimental outcome. So education is really the focus, because we have to see that next generation taking up the mantle and making it happen, so that we have a society that's free of harassment, it's free of bigotry, free of exclusion. That's where we've got to get to.
And that spirit and power collaboration is what brought this about tonight, and what brings you guys here tonight. And it's a really, really important initiative, I believe, for KickItOut, the guidance groups. And as you know, they're going to cover the 3 areas of the game that we consider critical for us at the moment, which is the professional game, grassroots, and the professional players game. And very much we see these groups as being critical friends to KickItOut, challenging us where we need to be challenged, but bringing their expertise to the table that you guys have as members of those groups, and helping us strategically change and hopefully enhance the impact that KickItOut has within all areas of the game. And I think for me also, for addition for this, is also that addressing some of the challenges that we've faced as a campaigning organisation over the last 12 months, and helping to address some of those. As Herman mentioned, this is our 20-year anniversary. It's a big time for us, it's a big critical time for us. And we hope to use the opportunity to reflect back on the last 20 years and what we've done, where we've come from, and where we need to go to. We're still very, very lucky, in my opinion, that we have Herman with us as the chair of our organisation, who steers the helm of KickItOut. For those who don't know Herman, he's right when he says he challenges everybody. He does, both the football authorities and us as a team. But without his passion and his commitment and his support to us, we could not do the job that we do. And I certainly couldn't do the job that I do.
My name is Jim Lusted. I'm going to be chairing the Grassroots Guidance Group, which I'm really chuffed about. I really appreciate the opportunity to be doing this. I echo Lucy's comments in many ways about how the group, I envisage the group to be. I sort of see the group as being a critical friend to KickItOut. So supportive, praiseworthy when we feel good things are being done, but also we want to be challenging too. And Roisin, we've talked about that, the importance of challenging the organisation when we feel things may need to be different, or may need to be added or changed. Obviously, sorry to disagree with you, Lucy, but the grassroots group is clearly the most important one out of the 3. Not least because it's often ignored, grassroots football. It's one of my passions, and for being involved in researching and interest in grassroots football is that we know so little about it, and yet it plays so much influence on our lives, on our daily lives. It's often ignored by funders, by the government bodies in many ways, but those of us involved in the grassroots game know how influential it is on people's lives, but also how entrenched the problems are, the difficulties we face at grassroots game.
This evening, I'd like to share with you 2 very important points for myself. Why do I personally believe and support the work of KickItOut? I think that's a very important point to express, because obviously I need to express why I'm here tonight. For me, I just need to mention 2 names: Lawrence Paul Cunningham and Benjamin Odigi. Benjamin Odigi has been confirmed by football associations as the first black players to represent England at any level. Most of us know Laura Cunningham to be that person. So this begs the question for me. Without Benjamin and Laurie, will I be here tonight, proudly standing in front of you? My answer will be probably no. Their bravery and heroic stance against racism made it possible for me to realize one of my childhood dreams: come to England, where my favorite player was Chris Waddle. Organizations like KickItOut are paramount to ensure that other players around the world, from different cultures, ethnicity, religions, have a chance to make their dream come true as well. So I was born in Cameroon, raised in France, played in Italy, and came in England. And I can tell the difference. And obviously, when you're thinking of a transfer, you want to know that you might be going to a country that will welcome you and embrace you, whatever you come from.
So I'm joined by Roisin, she's the director of KickItOut. So can you just tell us a little bit more about what you do for KickItOut?
Well, I'm in charge of KickItOut and trying to drive the strategic direction of the organisation. It's a very high-profile organisation. It's got a lot to do. It covers all areas of the professional game and on grassroots and players and managers. So it's an interesting role, but also a very challenging one.
Absolutely. I know you said in your speech it was very challenging, and over the last 20 years, obviously celebrating those 20 years, how far do you think KickItOut has come since then?
I think it's come a long way. But still a lot to do. I think if you went to a game 20 years ago and you heard the level of racism and discrimination then and now, it's significantly different. But I think there's still lots and lots of issues in the game. There's lots of issues still about racism. There's lots of issues around homophobia, discrimination against CRT and discrimination against women. So I think we've come a long way, but I think we've a lot to do. And I think we can do that because we've got lots of connections, lots of involvement, lots of partnership with lots of different people. And that's the way we can move the organisation forward.
Now, just a quick question for you. Do you still think there's a need for an organisation like KickItOut in 2013?
Definitely. I think wherever you've got minority groups, you always need a group like KickItOut to give minorities a voice, you know, and whatever difficulty they may have, whether it is race, whether it's disability or ability, sexuality, and with all these problems, I definitely think they need a voice, and we all need a voice.
Absolutely. So can you just tell us a little bit how you got involved with KickItOut as an organisation?
Well, about a decade ago I started my career at West Ham United, and obviously being one of the first British Asians to be involved in a Premier League side, there was a lot of media attention, a lot of thought that, you know, now the whole Asians in football will start to come along and we'll see a lot more, and KickItOut were always there for me for help, for guidance, and I really appreciated that being a young football player in a big bad world of Premier League football.
Now, in 2013, do you think there's still a need for KickItOut?
Oh, most definitely. I think more so. I mean, when I was first, propelled into the game, a lot of the issues were around skin colour, racial issues. And I think now in 2013, there's so many other equality and diversity issues that we need to tackle that are relevant and that are so significant in today's society. And I think it's so important that you do as much as you can, because the world is changing. Social media, the internet, everyone's getting these ideas and are able to communicate so quickly. I think it's so important that we keep on top of our game. We keep on top of what's going on with these equality, diversity issues in and around football. And I think KickItOut have been one of the leading groups to do that. And I think their work continuously is so important.
Now, as they're celebrating 20 years of campaigning, would you say that it's still as relevant today as it was 20 years ago, KickItOut as a charity?
Yeah, I would, absolutely. I mean, the issues might be slightly different. Certainly, going to a football match now is a less hostile experience than it might have been 20 years ago. But there are still problems, there are still issues of discrimination, there are still issues of inequalities in football across all levels of the game. So, you know, we need KickItOut as an organisation more than ever.
Now you've worked with KickItOut as an organisation. How do you think it's changed, and do you think over 20 years they still need an organisation like KickItOut in 2013?
Unfortunately, yes. There's still things which go on now. Obviously, when KickItOut started, it was a whole different scenario. For me, something I remember was in '93 when they did start. I was playing football in a club called Sammy Montague, which was really close to where Stephen Lawrence ended up being stabbed. So that kind of thing shook me up, a lot at the time. Having watched that right the way through, then me playing football as well, I've seen a lot of good and bad, in football. I've had some experiences, and there's also some experiences I've probably avoided because I'm not the smallest guy in the world. So that has, well, it's helped more than if I was a smaller guy. But there's a lot of things which still go on, and KickItOut's work is still very much needed.
So I'm here with Sonia from Inspirational You. Sonia, can you just tell us a little bit about how you're involved with KickItOut?
Well, I've been a huge supporter of KickItOut for many years. As a mother of a 9-year-old and a female football coach, I'm really passionate about seeing grassroots football on the agenda. I'm really passionate about women in football, but more importantly, I'm really concerned about the whole race agenda. So I've been following and pushing the whole race agenda for quite some time. I'm a founder of an organisation called Inspirational You, and via Inspirational You I've been organising quite a few debates and talks around racing football, bringing together those who work within the arena, as well as trying to encourage more women to get more involved in football, because every footballer has a mother, and if you're going to try and influence a player, influence a mother, and you'll start to see change. So I've been there in the background pushing and pushing and pushing for many years, and so I'm really pleased to be here today and to see them celebrate 20 years.
So do you think after 20 years of Kick It Out, now they're celebrating this, do you think there's still a need in 2013 for an organisation like this?
I wish it wasn't the case, but sadly it is the case, and it is because the diversity agenda hasn't really moved, it hasn't really changed, and when it comes to race, sadly there are still so many players who are afraid to speak out, there are still so many players who are afraid to bring up the whole race agenda because they don't want to get excluded or isolated, and they don't want it to affect their careers. However, what is really important is that they recognise that they are role models, that they do affect and impact on the community around them, and that there is a 10-year-old at home who is idolising them. And when they see what they're going through, when they see the racism signs, when they see and hear the chants that are being put towards them and they do nothing about it, it sends out the wrong message. So it is important that we start to see more players coming out and being upfront about saying that this isn't acceptable, so we can start to see the change. And it's really important that we have organisations like Kick It Out doing just that and working alongside them, and that they see the importance of working alongside Kick It Out, not against them, so that we can start to really push the agenda out. But more importantly, being here today at Deloitte, it's important to get the corporates behind us, and it's really important that we get buy-in at senior level. And Lord Housley mentioned that today in terms of being able to be amongst the influencers, and today is a huge start, and it's really good to see that Deloitte see that as an important part of their agenda in terms of what they're doing in sport.
Now, do you think in 2013, obviously they're celebrating 20 years of Kick It Out, do you think it's still as relevant as an organisation as it was 20 years ago? Do you think it's still important to have it in 2013?
Absolutely, it's very important for them to still be here and to be here for the next 10 years. Like I said in my speech, I present in a chronicle way where I look at how football was 10, 20 years ago and where it is today. And I think today is about homophobia. It's the next big challenge for us. And in 10 years' time, I want to see a get player maybe sitting instead of me right now, talking about how things have changed, how the people of today have made it possible for him to be here today. That's what I want to see.